Ohio State, with what they did through the portal and who they got to be their OC, who was previously a Big Ten head coach or would have been a Big Ten coach with Chip Kelly coming over from UCLA, there's a lot of talk around what they have to do in 2024. And I got to thinking more and more about this and unpacking this more and more in my head. And the way that I can't help but feel about Ohio State is that this year's team, just from a roster level and from a strategic level, is going to be a different product than what they had in 2023. So we'll talk about that right now. Quick plug, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We're on location, baby. We're out here in Nashville, Tennessee at the W Hotel. Want to make sure you don't miss any of the coverage of the On3 Elite Series. Also, college football season on this channel, at least on this show, doesn't stop. If you're watching the college football video in May, you're a little bit of a sicko. Good news, we are too. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a minute of the college football coverage we have for you all year long. Appreciate you for that. So why is Ohio State different? Why, if I'm an Ohio State fan, can I expect a different product in 2024 than what I got in 2023? Now, the quarterback position, very obviously, is the most important position on the field, most important spot on your roster. If we're going to be honest here, and we've been very transparent, I think Ohio State upgraded at quarterback. I'm assuming that Will Howard was brought to Ohio State with the intention of being the starter from that entire staff. Does he win the job in fall camp? I believe so. Ryan Day historically has named his starter right around middle of August. So I think that's going to be true with this situation as well. When you talk about the future of Ohio State in 2024, going back to what I said, last year, Kyle McCord was not a mobile threat for you. You look at his numbers from a box score perspective, ran for negative 60-something yards. Now, to be clear, I'm a big Kyle McCord stan. I hope he lights the world on fire at Syracuse. I hope he goes for 5,000 passing yards and has ACC Player of the Year kind of season at Syracuse. That'd be phenomenal. With that being said, Will Howard, going back to my point about more mobility, he ran for 9 touchdowns last year. When you get to the red zone, being able to keep your starting quarterback in the game and call quarterback design run, call read option, call an RPO with a potential chance for Will Howard to ad-lib and make something happen in space. That's just something that is so annoying to prepare for a defense. And it's something that as an offense, you give those wide receivers for Ohio State just another, 2 seconds to get open. It's hard enough to cover a guy like Emeka Egbuka for 3 seconds, let alone 5-6 seconds. Like, come on, man. Game changer. Something Ohio State, for the record, has been missing against Michigan over the course of the last 2 years. So quarterback play will be improved mobility-wise, then also experience-wise. Again, I'm not trying to take Kyle McCord out to the woodshed right now, but if we're just going to be real here, it was his first season being a starting quarterback in college football, and that showed. Even in wins, it showed. Against Notre Dame, who was a good defense, he didn't play his best. The game against Michigan, definitely didn't play his best. Will Howard, I'm not telling you he's going to do just wonders statistically throwing the football, but at the very least, I think he will be better set up to not make those same crucial mistakes that a player in a first-time big stage would make, like Kyle McCord did, just to be honest here. So there's that part of it. And then I think there's also the reality that when you look at what Ohio State is as a team, I think going into last year, you have Marvin Harrison Jr. as your all-everything wide receiver for you. You have Emeka Egbuka, who you hope is going to be healthy. Trevion Henderson, you hope is going to be healthy. There was a very rational thought, myself included, that Ohio State would be an offensive-led football team last year. You get a few games into it, you get to Penn State, really, and it becomes pretty obvious, okay, that's not going to be the way that we win ball games. That's not going to be our bread and butter week in and week out. They found their identity, in my opinion, right around middle of the season. Going into this season, as good as your offense, I think, can be, look at the defensive side of the ball, who brings back pretty much everyone and their mama, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Denzel Burke. Like you keep going, and then you sprinkled in the top player in the transfer portal, Caleb Downs, a safety from Alabama, just because you felt like it. Like that defense is going to be nasty. Hey, Jim Knowles, we're going to lean on your defense. We're going to win with defense, especially early. That's going to be the way that we go about things as Will Howard kind of gets his feet underneath him. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to still ask Will Howard to win the ball game for you at different points, but let's be clear. This defense is going to be the tip of the spear for this team. And they're just fine with that. So being able to know your identity from the jump and being able to lean into that and not have to adjust to that, that matters. That makes a difference, especially in those big stage kind of games. Big stage game you're looking at first is October 12th, where you go to Oregon and play a really dynamic offense with Dylan Gabriel and co. So we'll see what happens there. This backfield, I think, also plays exactly into that identity. Quinshon Judkins, who's a 1,000-yard back from the SEC, from Ole Miss. Trevian Henderson, who's also proven he's a 1,000-yard back when he's healthy. They got a lot of pieces to physically lean into that identity and complement the defense. Defense can get a stop. Will Howard, we can run the football with him. That backfield, you can lean on them. And there's a lot said now about the offensive line. Like, that's the number one thing you're going to hear about these guys. Yes, they got these weapons, but it's all for naught because the offensive line isn't up to par. I hear what you're saying. Is it as good as Ohio State's had in the past? No. But with Chip Kelly being the offensive coordinator, like, Oregon wasn't always recruiting the way they're recruiting right now. When Chip Kelly was the OC out there, he was calling plays out there as the head coach. They did more with less. Like, Chip Kelly has cooked with 3 stars on the offensive line. You don't think he's going to be more than okay using Ohio State's 4-star caliber players on the offensive line? Is the production as proven as you'd like to be? No, but even so, man, like, let's not pretend that Chip Kelly doesn't know what he's working with and doesn't know how to put a good football operation together on that side of the ball. So all that's to say, Ohio State, a lot of folks can be quick to say, oh, 0-3 against Michigan in the last 3 years, born on third base. And, like, it is what it is. Like, there's some level of you've earned a little bit of flack thrown your way. But I would be careful now to not lean too far into that, because last year is not this year. And this year's Ohio State team is absolutely not last year's team. From an identity standpoint, from a quarterback play standpoint, from an experience standpoint, last thing I'll say here, from an edge standpoint, I said this previously, this Ohio State team, they've already experienced the worst. Like, there is nothing more sickening for a Buckeye fan or a Buckeye player than losing to Michigan. There's not. These guys have all experienced that. And so there's no fear of the unknown for these guys. They've hit that sort of, I don't want to say rock bottom, but they've experienced that lowest of low as an Ohio State player or fan. They're saying, okay, bring it on. Bring it on. We've been there. We've felt that. We've done that. Like, we're not afraid of that. And I think the lack of fear and the lack of mystery and just, quite frankly, the adverse situations they've had to endure throughout the course of these last couple of years has hardened this roster, both emotionally and mentally. And I think all in all, it's going to be a good thing for the Buckeyes and make a difference when they get to those high-pressure competitive situations. So I believe Ohio State, man, if you don't know, now you know. I think Ohio State is going to be a different product in 2024. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.